Are you here? Can you hear me? Is there a life after death? I need to know. Can this method provide the answer? My name is Jason, and I'm trying to capture your voice onto this recorder. Are you here? Can you hear me?
So it's late in the 1950s, and a man named Friedrich Jürgensen is out in the woods in a cabin on the outskirts of Stockholm. His intention was to capture the sounds of the native bird song. Upon playback, he hears a voice that shouldn't have been there as he was alone and in the middle of nowhere. From this instant, he becomes obsessed, forsaking his artistic projects in pursuit of these inexplicable voices. Perhaps it was following a message from his deceased mother that Jürgensen decides voices must belong to the dead. So I've got two recorders and I'm going to place them onto the step and I'm going to ask some questions. Quite quiet. I can only hear the birds singing, really. Is there anyone here? Is there anyone here who can put a voice onto one of these recorders? Can you tell me who this monument is for? Can you tell me who built it? Can you give them the credit for it? I'm going to say a word, and I'd like you to try and repeat it. The word is survival. Can you say that word? Does consciousness survive death? By saying the word survival, could prove that to me. Okay, I'm going to end the session at 3 minutes. So I'll take this back to the studio and analyse it in detail.
Jürgensen's discovery was documented in his book, Voices from Space. And in 1965, it drew the attention of this man, Konstantin Raudovē.
A Latvian intellectual. The two met, and the mantle of obsession that seems so synonymous with this phenomenon got passed from one to the other.
The text spoken by the voices.
Approximately 5 years of Dr. Raudovē's research is condensed into his 1971 book, Breakthrough, which in the early days of its release was accompanied by a record providing samples of the recordings.
The first voice is that of Margarete Petrowski, who had told the experimenter during her lifetime that she did not believe in an existence after death. After her passing, the experimenter asked her how she felt in the beyond, and a voice, identified as coming from Margarete, answered, "Bedenke, ich bin."
The difference that headphones makes to this subject is massive. The same sound playing through the speaker would just sound like noise, plain and empty. But with headphones on, especially closed back ones like these, We do sometimes detect rhythm and tone that does sound like distant talking. If we take a look at the spectral display, the image confirms that there is an increase in amplitude at the corresponding points in time. Something is happening here, at very low levels.
It was Raudove who proposed the class system, whereby voices would be classified depending upon their audibility and comprehension. Class A is given to a voice that is clearly understood by anyone who listens. Class B seems to be applied to voices with varied intelligibility, while Class C, it seems, would be suitable for any unexplained vocal tonality.
I really want to try and eliminate some of these stray ambient sounds that at low levels could be masquerading as voices. And I think it's essential that a formidable control is put into place.
With the same recorder I'll be using throughout these experiments, I performed a test, playing the same specific sound out into the room from a loudspeaker, and while measuring peak levels of -15 dB inside the box, out in the open, the loudest spike was -35 dB.
So that's a 20 decibel reduction this box is providing. Any sounds that make it onto the recorder whilst it's in this box, I should hear with my own ears. If I don't, they're suspect.
EVP can appear, voices can appear in the strangest places at the strangest times, and the events and phenomena that are attached to them.
Chris is an ex-police officer and a seasoned paranormal investigator. He hosts an internet blog that chronicles his own research called Haunted Earth.
Am I more likely to get EVPs in a haunted location?
It varies. Unfortunately, it does. For example, this house was built in 1952. All the activity, the majority of the activity, tends to be centred on this side of the property. Now, the reason for that was that, on research, before this village was built, all this was farmland, save for one small house, which was built here. So, there is a connection with the past, definitely, and that obviously helps in the investigations that I've carried out in this property. So, what I'm saying is, it can happen anywhere, but I think for certainties, it's always better to go to places that you know are actively haunted in order to ensure a certain degree of success. You've got to know where you're going to drop your hook.
So I've taken Chris's advice, and right now I'm heading off to a local paranormal hotspot, an old church that's long abandoned. The structure is gone, and all that remains is the bell tower and a gravesite. And digging around online, I found a compelling voice that was captured at this site by a couple of local paranormal enthusiasts. And to me, this voice is astounding. A child's voice is clearly audible, and the investigators, well, they're adamant that they were alone. Oh, there it is. I think I can see it in the distance there. Okay, so once again, I've got my two recorders. One's going to go inside the box, The other's going to sit on top. Hello. I've come here to try and capture your voice onto one of these recorders. I don't know how you do it, but would you try and put your voice onto one of them? Can you say the word survival? If you speak on the one inside this box, it'll be great proof for me. Can you hear me? Can you see me? You are trying to speak. I really appreciate it. I honestly do. So I've chosen to analyse the safeguard audio first. That's the recorder that was inside the box. And lo and behold, buried within the white noise, I am hearing snippets of rhythm and tone, and it does sound like talking. And after finding a couple of these situations, I immediately bring in the audio from the other recorder, the one that was sat on top. I sync them, and this provides me with the ability to cross-reference between the two at any point of interest. The artificial distance that my box is providing has birdsong masquerading as voices. We don't hear the high frequency content as it fails to infiltrate the box's soundproof insulation. Indeed, that high-pitched information is replaced by white noise. And I think that this is further perpetuating the illusion of a voice, as the white noise is providing new consonants to the filtered fragments of birdsong. Now this is interesting for me. Perhaps I'm beginning to see some logical explanations for certain aspects of this phenomenon. A sound happening at a distance can be stripped of vital frequency components, tonal information that is essential in identifying a sound. The audio degradation takes place and misinterpretation is happening upon playback. Erroneous stuff is being turned into voices.
For the last throw of the dice, I'm heading to the Aeronautic Sciences Department at the University of Hertfordshire. On site here is an anechoic chamber, a sealed container that can provide robust acoustic isolation.
And so any sound that might be collected throughout this experiment is likely to originate from in here. The likelihood of catching stray ambient sounds from outside has got to be dramatically reduced. Furthermore, I'll be using my safeguard, my soundproof box, inside here as well. But I'll also have a static recorder outside.
The results were much as I expected. Only the rushing sound of ambient white noise was to be heard. The so-called Class A voice has eluded me once more, and under these strict conditions I was unable to identify any artifacts that might be considered for Classes B or C. I now more than ever find myself questioning the voice phenomenon, and indeed pondering its relationship with reality. But thinking about the mass of samples of recordings compiled over the past 50 years by the many avid researchers, many much wiser than I remind myself that just because I haven't caught any fish, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. Alas, stranger things have happened at sea.
Whilst a lot of EVP can be questionable, there is still a smaller percentage which is content rich in the truth it provides through experimentation and examination.
But still, my question remains, and withstanding the Class A safeguarded utterance of my control word, it doesn't look like the answer is here.